Well, gentlemen, we had very interesting presentation from our speakers, and equally well was the thinking conveyed, from design to free cooling to fans and future of data centers. So there is a general question for all of you, starting with Mr. Alexander. What are the new technologies for data center cooling? Since heat generated by components and CPUs is too much because of increasing data load and storage volume that needs resection. Mr. Continuous.
Well, basically, what we are seeing in the market, we are going through two paths. One for direct liquid on chip and immersion cooling, and both has their pros and cons as any technology. What I see today, and I always want to highlight this. Now in data center, we are talking about today. Tomorrow, everything can change. A consultation 1 year ago, it's so different than a consultation right now because things are changing so fast. And so if you want to be on the data center industry, you have to think about this flexibility. What you're talking today may change tomorrow. And this is the reality. So now what I have most of the markets of liquid cooling going to DLC, direct liquid chip, around 80% of the market going to DLC. And they are growing in technologies on DLC, for example, better cold plates, single and two-phase cold plates. The technology is already established, but they are increasing their capacity, changing the materials, etc. And immersion cooling. Immersion is 2 steps ahead. They're saying if the racks are keeping rising, DLC maybe is not able to take all this heat. But you have some problems with immersion cooling. For example, you cannot buy a server from Dell for immersion cooling. They're not selling this ready. You have to adapt, take out the fans, update the firmware, etc. And it's hard to do this as a data center. Change your IT gear. For DLC, they are launching new products every year, and they're growing. Last year, they launched around 32 to 35 new products, and we're expecting here, 2024, more than 100 new products for DLC. So it comes from the vendor ready, and immersion have to adapt to this. This is a challenge. But what we are seeing as DLC dominates technology markets, and immersion keep growing as the density of the racks rises. That's what we are seeing. And of course, we are looking for the IT side, quantum processors, etc. If it comes to reality, it will change everything. So from the side of engineer, we are looking for DLC and immersion cooling on those 2 aspects.
Definitely, thank you very much for sharing that views about the immersion cooling. May we have views of Mr. Datta, please?
Thank you, Mr. Gopal. So, it's a very interesting, discussion, okay, like, and what Mr. Kulte and even Ashok has, detailed discussion about this upcoming trend in the data center about the immersion cooling, liquid cooling. Okay, we have been seeing this, in ongoing all these hyperscale data centers, and the introduction of the generative AI has basically pushing all the data center players are moving out from the conventional method of cooling to obviously in a very highly technically driven, okay, like data center solution. Okay. Having said that, okay, if you talk about only India at this point of time, okay, so obviously data center is an emerging segment for India. And in fact, okay, what we are observing at this point of time is that free cooling, even all these, HVAC equipment, especially the chillers, okay, still we find that, okay, it's still is a growing demand in India at this point of time. This could be the fact that still, all the data center players are looking for, low upfront cost, simplicity in the design, because they don't want to make more complication in the design. And, and the current racks, which you are able to withstand that high temperature, And even this, modern generation chillers are being made to withstand to that living water temperature. But then every system, what I believe is that both free cooling, liquid cooling, anything system has these both, advantages and disadvantages both. And all the systems are effective. This depends on basically what the end user or data center players are looking for. If there's somebody is looking for very high cooling capacity, suitable for high density deployment, which should be totally independent from the climatic conditions. So one must definitely look for a liquid cooling is the one advantage. But if somebody is really very concerned about their upfront cost, complex design, they want to have a very simplicity in design. They're very much concerned about the maintenance part of it. They are like in the liquid cooling, as all the speakers, they basically discuss there could be a potential leakage issue. So maintenance could be relatively, it's like more like complex. So, one might really think about these free cooling options. So all depends on basically what the data center players are looking for, how critical their application is, and what is the size of their data center.
Correct, very rightly said. The immersion cooling depends upon the capacity. Thank you very much. Can we have your views, Mr. Prashant Goran?
Yes, as well explained and well presented by all the speakers, and it depends on the requirement of the end client and the project to project basis. The efficiency, as far as about the fan and air cooled heat exchangers or the delivery of the heats into the air, the movement of air is required. The fan need to be integrated, and fan has a technology and EC motor integrated into it, and has a capability to vary the load from the as per the load requirement from the data center from 0 to 100% without drastically drop down the efficiency of the fans. So the one should be integrate the fan with an intelligent controller through the AI or through the different solutions which are the required of the control cooling technologies, as we discussed from the various speakers, and provide the solution as per the requirement. And the hybrid solution can be improved the requirement and provide the exact solution as per the customer requirement.
Thank you very much for providing that idea. As per the customer solution we need to go to. Mr. Ashok Yadav, what are your views about the new technology solutions for coding?
Absolutely, like all guests have covered, like this all will be governed by how the technologies are moving. A few things very clearly which is coming out of technology which we are seeing is that new components like heat exchangers were never a part of data center design will be prominently will be visible. Lot of fluid mechanics will be part of design. Then again, the data center size, which is going in, one building, one cluster of building, is also putting on a lot of challenges with respect to the space on the terrace, especially for the chillers. That will also go for a lot of change. That is what we anticipate apart from the free cooling. Last point, also what we anticipate in terms of air cooling within data center will also need to change with changing the data center requirements, changing technologies, and changing environment within data centers. So this will proactively change, and technology providers and companies like us, Vertiv, and all other players has to be ahead of where technology is coming in and be ready for that. And these changes will be very, very fast. One thing will be assured with AI, nothing is going to sustain more than 3 to 4 years. Every 3 to 4 years, there is going to be a massive change.
Definitely. With time, technology keeps on changing, and with the AI, there are acceleration in the industry. Mr. Datta, there was a question for you also. What ambient temperature we can use for free cooling option?
Thank you, Mr. Gopal. So in the free cooling, currently with the modern generation chillers, if what I explained in this presentation is, we can start free cooling depending on, what is the return water temperature, of the chiller has been designed for, and what is the chilled water requirement in the data loop. For an example, okay, if a data center is designed for 27 chilled water living and return is 37 degree. If the ambient is at 35 degree, we can still, start the free cooling at 35 degrees centigrade drive out temperature. It is not necessarily that, only your ambient temperature has to be relatively much lower to gain the benefit of the free cooling. free cooling, it just doesn't mean that only is it 100% free cooling. We can take a benefit for the partial free cooling from the chimney, and that can start at a relatively higher dry out temperature. As high as today, what I have seen is 35 to 36 degree centigrade dry out temperature. Free cooling can start, but then you might get the 100% free cooling. It will help your compressor to be, offloaded, or some of the compressors in a system may be down. Okay, you can partially run those compressors, which can benefit the energy consumption, saving the energy consumption from the chilling equipment.
Thank you very much for sharing the insights. Another thing is while you were mentioning in your presentation about the free cooling and hybrid cooling, high density, etc. So do you think free cooling in data center is more effective to reduce energy consumption in comparison to the liquid cooling?
It's a great question. Okay, I'm sure. Okay, there is going forward. With the active population or the increased demand of the AI, industry is moving towards from free cooling to the conventional cooling to the liquid cooling, and gradually what we are seeing that industry is moving towards the hybrid cooling system. If you look at the data, basically statistics, 70% of the data centers use free cooling. That's the survey has been done about 3-4 years back. But liquid cooling is definitely gaining a lot of popularity in today's industry. That is because the sizing of the data centers, density and everything. Okay, so liquid cooling is gaining popularities. But what we will see going forward is that hybrid cooling, which is gaining a lot of popularity today. And going forward, we'll be seeing that hybrid cooling will be taking a lot of market from the data center space. Having to answer your question very specifically, all depends. If a climatic condition is very favorable to the free cooling, I'm sure that many of the data centers players, they will still prefer to go for a free cooling, because still free cooling is gaining a lot of energy efficiency, which can save close to around 70 to 80% as per the data. Whereas the liquid cooling, it can also go a little above this free cooling, but then it comes with a low upfront cost free cooling and suitable for temperature climatic condition, and it's very simple design and installation. So again, I would say that it all depends. Okay, it's very difficult probably to judge and conclude at a point which is better. It all depends on the data center players, kind of data center they are going to set up, and what kind of investment they are going to do.
So I need to ask you, can AI-driven optimization improve performance of cooling systems by monitoring parameters?
Yeah, that's a great question. Actually, this is a talk of town. We talk about a lot of AI workload coming into IT workload, but we are not talking about AI doing that cooling infrastructure, the cooling machine itself operating, and then changing all the aspect and managing the efficient operation. Yes, it's absolutely right, and there will be sooner or later there will be technologies available, and also technologies available from Vertiv, that all our cooling unit will be AI enabled, and which will have a greater level of efficiency available, which will adapt to the requirement, and it will learn, and then it will deliver according to the need of customers. So AI is definitely will be there everywhere.
AI is going to be everywhere. Coming to Mr. Prashant, how can placement and operation of energy efficient fans within data center can optimize airflow to improve thermal management?
Yeah, it's a good question indeed. The placement and operation. The operation is most important as per the requirement of the load. The load is not constant in the data center. Load is varying. So you can integrate the fan in such a way that as per your requirement, the flow is changing. So you can integrate the fan aligning with the best practices like the cold or hot SL designs, variable speed of the fans, and then you can placement of the fan is most important. Like then you need to be take care about the less turbulence and airflow, efficient airflow through the heat exchanger. Likewise, you can improve the thermal management. It depends on the OEM. We are already in contact with the different OEMs how to get then different some recommendations from the fan manufacturer to the OEMs.
Thank you very much.